want to talk about the scripture that warns us that you shall beware of false prophets. You shall know them by their fruits. If you go into the scripture, you will notice that this scripture is talking about fruits of the spirit, behaviors of the person. And also, for me, I've gone a step further to notice that those people who are occultists, they have PR stunts, and people where they are like con men. They hide a lot. They pretend, they use a lot of gimmicks to cover up who they really are and their intentions. But they cannot cover up on those who are close to them, because they have to live every day. So you notice, if you are living with a fake Christian, a false Christian, you can actually tell, because anyone who is when they say a false prophet, I also, unlike witches, you can know that they hate you because they are low rank in the kingdom of Satan. But there are some people like the marine kingdom agents who are like the queens of the coast, who are like the Satanists and other people. Those people, they are so advanced that you may not be able to see clearly that they are Satanists, because they come as angels of light. Like a few hours ago, I talked a bit about such people who are agents of the marine kingdom, who are black widows. A black widow in a crime, they look at these are like wives or husbands, mostly wives. They are so sweet. They will be poisoning the husband, but at the same time, they are they are caring for that husband. And when you look them, they look so broken. They look like they are victims. They look so sweet, caring, always there for their husband. So they are adding more and more poisons, but they are behaving like they are caring. So they are so cunning that when you see them, even when they are living with a man, you would think they are the victim because of the way they carry themselves around. They are so they are so deceptive, because they are not doing this thing alone. They are doing this with the help of demons. They are possessed by demonic spirits of witchcraft. They are possessed by spirits that take lives. So that's why they behave like that. They can easily kill any man for money and move to the next. Like, there are some people, you wonder why remember when a politician dies, you wonder why the same person who starts to date or become the wife of such a politician, you notice they were widowed at the age of 30. In their early 30s, they were widowed and they're already a widow. And then they marry this powerful politician. And then that powerful politician also dies and they're still there. But you notice they have a certain lifestyle where they dress like, they like to dress, they like the water so much, and they wear things like that imitate mermaids. And they have this skin which is so bright and shiny, because these people drink human blood, and they do a lot of vampire. They do a lot of things which are evil, and they have demonic charms that they use, and they have demonic things that they use. So they end up looking so good because they are operating with, they are getting a lot of things, artificial ways to make them look nice. So I wanted to talk about, like, first, when they see when the word says you shall know them by their fruits, it's referring to fruits of their spirit. So if a person is evil, you will know they don't have love. If like these false prophets and witch doctors, if you go to them and have a problem, do you know they listen like they care? But even when they are listening, you notice that if you're a person who picks up the emotions, you can tell that this person is listening and pretending to care because they want to capture you and enslave you and start to profit from you. They have things that they have that they want to dump on you, the spirit that are looking for a body to possess. So you're just like making yourself vulnerable. So they are not listening. They are listening so that they can gain your trust, so that they can now destroy you. You have heard of cases where a person got some things from a witch doctor and a false prophet, and then when those things are working, they are getting money, they are friends until this person notices the thing is a problem. Then the witch doctor will even tell them, no, don't come to my shrine. I don't want you to defile my shrine. Some of them, they will even threaten them. And the same with false prophets. If you look at, like, for example, the case of the late, what she was called Mashangwe, who was going to, whoever, who calls himself Emmanuel Makandiwa. It's not his real name, though. But, it's like she was going to that church with her husband. And then whilst being exploited, they were given false promises that never came true. And they lost millions of dollars, US dollars. And they tried to sue. But then when they were being exploited, these are like business people. When they were exploited, they didn't have a clue. They thought they were friends because they were dealing with a scammer. They were dealing with some people who are demonic, who are heartless. So they were being deceived. But then if there are people who are sensitive in the spirit, they would have known that, they would have picked up that this spirit is not of God, because there is no patience, there is no peace around them. They are not kind, they are not gentle, they lack self-control, so they pushed boundaries. So you notice even the way if you are close to them, these false prophets, you can actually tell that this person just wants money and nothing else. It's all a facade to exploit you. So if you're a person who understands, you notice that there is like some use of charms, because you notice even your mind is not sound. And whenever you want to go away from them or you want to go against them, there is so much fear because they are using demonic charms. You are not yourself. That's why I don't encourage people to step on shrines or to entertain false prophets and people who use charms, because that charm, if you're not strong enough, you can actually be controlled and subdued by it. There are people I know who used to be strong, who used to be very disciplined, people so trusting, and very nice people who are not drunkards. They are captured by churches like Makandiwa's church, like PhD ministries, and they are unable to come out, and they are so carried. While drunkards are not going to such churches because they know better. They cannot be easily brainwashed than these people who are normal and trusting, who are decent people. So, the fruits that you should look at, you notice these false prophets, they are not they're just looking for quick ways. They are forceful. They are not, whatever they are doing, there's no kindness. Even the way they treat other people around you, when you are their victim, they make you so close, you get special treatment, but you see other people being mistreated. They will always want you around them. Like for me, when I met a false prophet, do you know, after the times I went to his church, after the service, he would ask me to sit close to the place where he wants to live. He would ask me to sit close. Sometimes I'll be told, oh, no, prophet said you should sit on this side so that when he's leaving, you can easily go with him. So I had like all the attention. But I used to remember those times I would see other people desperate to meet him. They would be like, the other time someone called and wanted to see him and was told that he's not around, he's busy, yet he was not busy. So he was making excuses for other people, but for me, he had all the time. For me, anytime I called or anytime I sent a message, he would be so polite. But when I was with him, someone calls, the way he would cut them off was really rude. And then they were only good to get something. And it was like, I noticed they were nice. This person was not a nice person, but I had money. So that's what he wanted from me. So even the way he was forceful, even about that money, he was a person who was forceful, who was promoting division and suspicion, trying to weaken my marriage, even using lies to try and control me. So I noticed that this is not the Spirit of God. But fortunately for me, even when those things were happening, the Holy Spirit continued to talk to me. And he was asking me my dreams. Like, it was like he had all the time for me, but no time for everyone else. It was like, so that's what happens when you are the target, when you have more money. These people focuses on the person who has the most money in the church, or who is the most gifted. But if you happen to have both, you become very targeted, and they'll be doing rituals about you every night to try and control you. But now for me, I was so fortunate because my husband was blocking him, and even him, he said it. And even two men of God that were random, they said the same, that there are things that this man, they were somewhere where you are, someone is trying to initiate you into Satanism, but your husband is standing and blocking it. And even this false prophet, when he looked at me, he would see my husband. He was blocking me. He couldn't do anything. So the spiritual realm is very real. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about is the fruits that are not necessarily what the Bible refers to, but I believe this kind of fruits, they are also important. So if you go to Luke 6, maybe we can go Luke 6:43 to 49. Okay, you shall know them by their fruits. Luke 7:16 to 20. Okay, let me go to Matthew 7:16 to 20. So Luke 7, I think I should read from the beginning to get the context. I should look at it from, Enter ye, I'm starting from verse 13, Matthew 7. Enter ye in at the straight gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leads to destruction, and many would not find it. Because straight is the gate and narrow is the way which leads to life, and a few that find it. Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravaging wolves. But you shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns, or figs of thistles? Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that bring not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Wherefore by their fruits you shall know them. This is talking about the fruits of the Spirit. But we also know that a man and a woman, when you give birth, whoever you give birth to is the fruit of your womb. So a child, a descendant of a person who is of God, you see that their life, there is liberty. So, what I also noticed, if you look at false prophets like T. Freddy, for example, you look at these children, they are so worldly, even when they are in church, the way they are dressed, because they are the altars. So in Shona, they say they are the vessels of the demons that are giving him power. Because when you go and get powers from the evil side, from the dark kingdom, the spirits, even though you may use other people who are your relative, the spirits will want to live on your descendants. They want to live on your fruits, your direct children. That's why you notice there are many people who are going to false churches, but you look at them, they're religious, they're running around worshiping, praying, but to see the power working in their life is so easy to see how the children fare. There's a certain lady who started going to Mountain of Fire Ministries when the children were just young. And when she started, she would even leave the children at the pastor's house. The children started their life at Mountain of Fire Ministries. They lived there. The mother had positions there. Her money she was the main donor for the church. But this woman is a devil worshipper. And even in that church, there are a lot of demonic things that go on there. Many witches go to Mountain of Fire Ministries. The church by Daniel Olokuya. There are many witches there. So many witches and Satanists, because the training there is like that of witchcraft, where people are told to hate their relatives. They pray send back to sender. Remember in the Bible, in the book of Luke, when the disciples asked for Jesus to allow fire to come down from heaven like John the Baptist did, Jesus said, you don't know the spirit which you're operating under when you do that. You're operating under a demonic spirit because the dispensation changed. You know, there are things that used to be done in the old covenant because there was no salvation. There was no redemption for sins and no forgiveness, no reconciliation after you sin. That's why they had to stone people to death, to stop the thing from spreading, the sin, whatever they were spreading. But then now, when Jesus came, there was power which can subdue and transform anyone through the power of God and the sacrifice that Jesus Christ did. So there was no need to call for fire to come down and consume people like people are still doing. So if you go to Mountain of Fire, pray such prayers. They fast for the enemies to die. They are under demonic powers. They are operating like witches and satanists and wizards. So this woman, when she was going, these children started going to this church, and all children, they are so troubled. None of them is married. They are into drugs. They're into prostitution. They are struggling with even basic degrees. They can't get a degree despite going to the best schools in the world. The mother, the father are doing well, but both of them are into the occult. Their businesses run on blood, on serious demonic rituals. So the outcome, their fruits, the children, they are the vessels for the spirits because they have to go on to the next generation. And if you look now, even the children, they are mostly born out of wedlock. And they are even starting life in a way that is so difficult, where they don't know their fathers, where they are living in traumatic circumstances, where the fathers and mothers of these children are witches and they are fighting each other. And the children are so disturbed that even normal life is far. So the other fruit that I've noticed is the children born from or raised by occultists. If you look at a person raised from a family where the father or the mother was a witch doctor, the father and mother may be married, but the child will not get married. The children will struggle. Or if they get married, they are getting married to be used for rituals. They are used like charms. Or they have to be involved in witchcraft for them to now have a relationship. So they have to go into the same things their mother did, their fathers did. If they don't do that, they struggle. So the other fruit is not just the character of the person. It's also you look at the children of such a person. You will notice the children are struggling. I want you also to focus on churches that are cults, like the apostolic sect. You notice the children are so troubled. I remember this white garment church my mother used to go to when I was young, when my father was sick. This person who led this church was he had a polygamy, but he was hiding it from the church. So when I was going to that church, I happened, the child of this false white garment cult prophet became my friend. And when she was my friend, We're in the same class actually. And when she was my friend, she started to tell me secrets from their family. And this girl was so troubled. So one other time, she asked me to go with her to an orphanage where the father's first wife wed. So the father was working at an orphanage and they were stealing food that is donated to these orphans. So she would go there and get the food there. She was so close to the father's first wife, even though her mother was another wife to that. It's like they kept it a secret. This first wife did not even come to church, but they were close. So this girl, she would just say, my aunt. So one day I asked her, what do you mean? You always tell me she's your aunt. This and like, no, she's not really my aunt. She is my father. She's my stepmother. She's my father's first wife. She told me that. She never used to call her aunt. In Shona, she used to call her my guru. You know, it's like when you get married, where there is an older or where there is a wife, you call them like I don't know. The mother would call that woman. They would respect the first wife, and if they are the second, they also respect the first and the second. So she was addressing her in a way that she is like the brother, the wife. You know, the same way you would respect the wife of your father's brother. So that's how it is. So it's not really. So she was just saying, my guru. So I thought, okay, it's the sister, it's a mother's sister, or is the wife of a father, of a uncle, the father's older brother or something. But when she explained to me, you know, I was so confused because this church did not allow polygamy. And this man also, this church, it was not allowed. You know, they used to expose people. Boys and girls were sleeping around, and people were sleeping around, were actually humiliated on every service, almost every service. But this person was even sleeping with young girls. He was a pedophile. But he was preaching something but not doing it. So the fruits are that their own life, they live it, satisfying, they last after the flesh. So, but most people, they think when we're talking about fruits, we're talking about the wealth, the business empire, the house, the children, the way they look at outside appearance and not character. Not the spiritual torment, the spiritual state of these children, the emotional struggle, the drug addictions, the prostitution, the gluttony, the lack of self-control and fruits of the spirit of the children. Because a good fruit does not bear bad fruits. So if you find children of your pastor struggling, it means they are using powers that are evil. Like, for example, for me, I knew that T.D. Jakes was in a satanic cult, Freemason. The Lord revealed to me many years ago. I used to talk about how people must look at the life of Sarah. Sarah ran away from home when she was like 13. And you know, most children of these Satanists who are running churches, they are victims of satanic ritual abuse. So when you find them getting pregnant and running to the streets, it's because the abuse is happening at home. They have to run away, not to a police, not to anything, because they know even the police is involved. They know the people, because they do orgies, they do gang rapes where they initiate these children, and it's people respected in society who get involved in these rituals, in this abuse. They take part. Like if you look at Hampstead, their children, it's called they call it the Hampshire cover up. Let me look in there's a church actually. It was in the United Kingdom. There are two siblings who started to report that the father, it's called Hampstead cover up. Yeah, I think it's Hampstead cover up. It is like there are two siblings who were young. They were living with their mother, but they were going to school every day, and the father, who is a lead Satanist, would come to the school and abuse these two children with other children. So the father and the school administration were involved, and this was a Christian school. The children were taken for rituals. The mother had no idea the children were abused sexually by their own father and other people, and they are a satanic cult. They were a satanic cult. So when these children came up, opening up about the abuse that was going on at home, the police interviewed these children, and it was viral on YouTube. Then now, instead, and BBC decided to bring the father and they started to and you know, the children were brave enough to open up about the things, the rituals where they kill and eat dead babies. They kill babies and eat and drink blood, and they were sexually abused. There were a lot of things going on at school. And the mother was not even saying anything. But the children who are both they were like 8, 7 and 8, 6 to 8, both of them. And they were just speaking in detail things that happen, things that they had no way of understanding, but they were explaining how things that are happening to them at school and how the school is also part of this thing. But after they did that, the interview went viral. But BBC decided, because BBC is also involved in these things, covering up satanic abuse, because the ones responsible for that, they are also involved. So these children, after they had reported, then we find an interview where the father, they were saying dead, falsely accused of satanic abuse, speak of ordeal. And then this man was now seen as the victim, where he was even BBC decided to side with the abuser instead of the children, and they started to lie. And then they noticed that the comments there, people were not buying it, and BBC had to disable the comments on their YouTube video, because this father was even crying like he's the victim, and he was saying, no, these children, I was so shocked. You know, it's like anyone who grew up in a place where a pastor is exposed, or a respectable person is exposed for abuse, they will make it seem like this is a plot to destroy them. So, you know, these children, after they had exposed everything and spoken out courageously, this was now labeled by Wikipedia the Hampstead hoax of a series of false accusations. And they were looking at an investigation. They were all, even The Guardian, many media, they were covering up the crime, because it is something so serious and so common among the elites, among even the leaders, the owners of these media channels, the celebrities, the politicians, the elites in every society, respectable people are involved in that. It's a power ritual that they're involved in. So they started to attack the mother, and say that the mother is the one who had caused the children, and the children were taken from their mother and given to the abuser. So, you know, anyone knows, if you are fighting a powerful person who is an abuser, they end up attacking you, and they can tarnish your image because they have systems. The police who send with them, because they are also involved in these things, in women sacrifices, satanic ritual abuse, and serious crimes, and a lot of things. So, you know, if you need to look at the children. You know, I was talking to a friend who was telling me about, you know, this church, you know, these churches that are considered trendy, you know, these churches where rich people want to go. I was told by a friend that, if only you could come to this church called Celebration that is in Zimbabwe. They don't, you know, you hear things that will shock you that happen. You notice, like, if you look at Shingi Munyeza, he was an abuser to his wife, but the way he wrote messages and the way he writes on his Twitter that I belong only to Jesus Christ, you'll be so fooled that this is a God-fearing man because they are good at image. But if you look now, the child was a product of that abuse. Their wife could have been silent because she didn't want to lose anything. Because, churches like Celebration, those churches, you can go and report your husband there to the pastor. The next thing you find your husband being called to be, and they report to your husband what you said. And they may put you, it's like there is no relief. Yeah. So you find these churches and most of these people who get involved in money rituals, there's these conditions where they have to abuse their children and to so that it's a lot. There's a lot of incest. There's a lot of real abuse, physical, emotional, because the person, when they get these things, and psychological, these things possess the owner and as well as the children. So they start to struggle. You notice, you find people who are rich. Like if you look at certain people who are considered powerful businessmen, you look at their children. Like I was shocked. I met a certain lady who is actually a Zayoja. She goes to the Zayoja church. When I saw her, she came to my house. She was selling something. And when she was selling something, she's so troubled. She walked, it's like there are these people who want to prove that they are well up, but despite having reality which shows they are struggling. So she walked to my house and she was making an excuse that her car, she was just making some funny excuse about why she's not mobile. And then the next thing, I'd offered to drive to her house, but she was so embarrassed because their house is not even, it's a boys' sky. They have not managed to even build any structure. So when she came, she told me, they are told, there are people who believe because they go to a certain church, then they are blessed. You find that in people who go to satanic cults. They have this thing where they feel like they are more blessed. So they want to present an image that they are well up because of their church. So they put a false image of their life. So this lady, when she was talking to me, she was telling me about how she's a member of Zayoja and how she's so blessed. Despite going door to door to sell things, she's still trying to convince herself that she's well up. And then this woman, when I was talking to her, I was now exposing the spirits operating in Zayoja. And as I was talking to her, a whirlwind came, a violent whirlwind. The spirits from the water, the demons, they came when I was trying to speak to her because she was so deep. But then this lady, now she forgot the image. She forgot the image she has said. There's so much confusion in these people. Her best friend from high school that she's still close to is one of the wives, the concubines of one of the businessmen. Is it Chiango or something? And then she was telling me about the experience that this friend had where she was dating this Chiangwa, and then whilst dating and sleeping with Chiangwa, she started, the son of Chiangwa started to be sexually interested in her, and they started to have a relationship, and she was about to dump the father. And the father found out, and the father told her that you cannot dump me. Because she even threatened her with a gun. So imagine the father was okay with the fact that the son is sleeping with this girl because they are almost same age. But this is a person who is keeping such friends. You can tell the life that this woman lives. She lived a double life. Because there is no way light and darkness can mix. If you are a God-fearing woman and you have a friend who is sleeping, who is like a concubine, a prostitute for a politician, birds of the same feathers flock together. So maybe you're just married because, well, when you're doing it, you found your husband, and then, but now if you look at her, she seems to like the life that the friend lived because she's still connected to that life. Because if you're a God-fearing woman and you believe what you believe, there is no way light and darkness can mix. If that friend gets near you, she will be transformed, not you trying to understand your life and even getting involved in the details of that life, and she remains in that life. Which means this lady was probably enjoying the things that this woman was getting from the relationships. So, you need to look at the children. And also these children, the fruits are not just, they are the character of the one going to that church. But you also see them through the people around them, especially the fruits of their womb. The fruits from their seed, their children. You will notice something, that these children, their life is so far from God. They don't try to pretend like the father. They are so troubled by these things that is so obvious and evident. I've seen also people who go to some cows where the father and the mother are so prayerful. The White Garment Church, the Zayoja, PhD Ministry, Makandiwa Ministry, Tifredi Church, and all these people who are miracle hunters. Their children are really troubled. Then you notice like a certain level of possession and spiritual, supernatural things attacking the children that are worse than the average people, than other people. They are so troubled more than people who don't believe in God. Yet they have these things where they have drug addictions, where they struggle because people are using these evil churches to hide their real the cults and demonic covenants they're involved in. So that most of these people, even going to SDA, find that they are going to SDA during the day, they have positions, they're going to Salvation Army, Methodist, Roman Catholic, but they are ritualists, and then they hide, and then these things they hide, they start to find expression in their children. And they have no way of blocking it or hiding it or covering it up. Because I know a certain woman who goes to Apostolic Faith Mission, and then she was living with some nephews and nieces. And then while she's living with these people, because of the things in her house, the covering, they are ritualists. So these children started to suffer. And they became prostitutes, they became drug addicts, they left home, they started to abandon education. Why were these spirits able to possess these children? It's because these children, their own parents had struggled with drugs. Their own parents were also sacrificed and killed. But now when they were under this house with the covering, where the mother and father are involved in rituals, the false going to church does not help them. Even though they are going to church, they are only weakening the spirits. They are only weakening their own things and making themselves vulnerable. So these children were able to get into these drug addictions, in prostitution and satanic gangs because of the spirits operating in the lives of the people who are their guardians now. So there's a lot of witchcraft and satanic things. So you need, most of the time, don't ignore the children. Most of these false pastors, you see the children, they are so troubled. They are so rebellious that they can't even pretend. And they struggle even with faith. You look at even the children of Kakande in Uganda. He left the father's church and went to a Seventh-day Adventist church, and he started telling people that the father is involved in satanic ritual. And Kakande has had like more than 5 concubines. He divorced his wife, and the wife is still alive. And then he lived with different women. He struggles with lust. So when these people are seeing this powerful anointing from a person who defiles marriages, who sleeps around with women and does not even have self-control, what they are getting is just demonic. Because when you see a person living such a life and having power, be assured that that power is from hell. But now the children of the Kakande, you notice the ones now that don't want to be a part of that, they run and they're the ones to expose. So where you see the children exposing the father, is because they've tried everything. That's just like Chingimunyeza's daughter. She started to expose his father because the father was used to covering up his image that he loves the wife, my wife of so many years. And the wife is quiet and behaving like all is well. But the child got fed up of the lies because it's following and she's living the lies too, and she wants to end it. That's why she even said, you know, she commented that you are always abusive and cheating on your wife with different women, and yet you post these false fake messages. So that's why you find children, is because the torment on children, these spirits are worse on the fruits of their womb, on their seed. So that's why you see them behaving the way they do. They get tired of hiding. That's why you see even the daughter of T.D. Jakes left home and went to live on the streets, got pregnant at the age of 13, and then she refused intervention until they managed to get her. And guess what they do? Instead of making her grow, and they arranged a marriage for her to get married to a man so that they can give her power, because she is operating under the same demonic powers like the father. So the abuse was actually part of the grooming. Even the drugs and homelessness, it just was part of what the father does secretly, the mother does secretly. You look at also all the children of T.D. Jakes, the wife, you know, these abusers, they also the ritualists, they like marrying wives with their own children. They don't get their covenant wife. They don't get to live with their covenant wife. You look at the way they always divorce. Like Passion Java, he had to leave his wife to get this Ethiopian. Then you look at also, so most of them, they are, you don't find them with a first wife. Even Ezekiel Guti, the wife that he had was not a first wife. Because for these demonic rituals to be strong, the marriage has to be defiled. If it's a covenant marriage, it's quite difficult. So they have to defile, they have to be in an adulterous relationship, or they have to have done a human sacrifice. They have to they have to start by defiling everything.